every being has an infinite ability to survive. How well he accomplishes this is dependent on how well he uses ethics on his dynamics. Ethics technology exists for the individual. It exists to give the individual a way to increase his survival and thus free himself from the dwindling spiral of the current culture. Ethics. Ethics actually consists of rationality toward the highest level of survival for the individual, the future race, the group, mankind, and the other dynamics taken up collectively. Ethics are reason. Man's greatest weapon is his reason. The highest ethic level would be long-term survival concepts with minimal destruction along all of the dynamics. An optimum solution to any problem would be that solution which brought the greatest benefits to the greatest number of dynamics. The poorest solution would be that solution which brought the greatest harm to the most number of dynamics. Activities which brought minimal survival to a lesser number of dynamics and damaged the survival of a greater number of dynamics could not be considered rational activities. One of the reasons that this society is dying and so forth is that it's gone too far out ethics. Reasonable conduct and optimum solutions have ceased to be used to such an extent that the society is on the way out. By out ethics, we mean an action or situation in which an individual is involved, or something the individual does, which is contrary to the ideals, best interests, and survival of his dynamics. Ethics are the actions an individual takes on himself in order to accomplish optimum survival for himself and others on all dynamics. Ethical actions are survival actions. Without a use of ethics, we will not survive. We know that the dynamic principle of existence is survive. At first glance, that may seem too basic. It may seem too simple. When one thinks of survival, one is apt to make the error of thinking in terms of barest necessity. That is not survival. Survival is a graduated scale, with infinity or immortality at the top and death and pain at the bottom. On this basis, we have the concepts of right and wrong. When we speak of ethics, we are talking about right and wrong conduct. We are talking about good and evil. Good can be considered to be any constructive survival action. It happens that no construction can take place without some small destruction, just as the tenement must be torn down to make room for the new apartment building. To be good, something must contribute to the individual, to his family, his children, his group, mankind, or life. To be good, a thing must contain construction which outweighs the destruction it contains. A new cure which saves 100 lives and kills one is an acceptable cure. Good is survival. Good is being more right than one is wrong. Good is being more successful than one is unsuccessful along constructive lines. Things are good which complement the survival of the individual, his family, children, group, mankind, life, and mest. Acts are good which are more beneficial than destructive along these dynamics. Evil is the opposite of good, and is anything which is destructive more than it is constructive along any of the various dynamics. A thing which does more destruction than construction is evil from the viewpoint of the individual, the future race, group, species, life, or mest that it destroys. When an act is more destructive than constructive, it is evil. It is out ethics. When an act assists succumbing more than it assists survival, it is an evil act in the proportion that it destroys. Good, bluntly, is survival. Ethical conduct is survival. Evil conduct is non-survival. Construction is good when it promotes survival. Construction is evil when it inhibits survival. Destruction is good when it enhances survival. An act or conclusion is as right as it promotes the survival of the individual, future race, group, mankind, or life making the conclusion. To be entirely right would be to survive to infinity. An act or conclusion is wrong to the degree that it is non-survival to the individual, future race, group, species, or life responsible for doing the act or making the conclusion. The most wrong a person can be on the first dynamic is dead. The individual or group which is, on the average, more right than wrong, since these terms are not absolutes by far, should survive. An individual who, on the average, is more wrong than right will succumb. While there could be no absolute right or absolute wrong, a right action would depend upon its assisting the survival of the dynamics immediately concerned. A wrong action would impede the survival of the dynamics concerned. Unethical conduct is actually the conduct of destruction and fear. Lies are told because one is afraid of the consequences should one tell the truth. Destructive acts are usually done out of fear. Thus, the liar is inevitably a coward, and the coward inevitably a liar. The sexually promiscuous woman, the man who breaks faith with his friend, the covetous pervert are all dealing in such non-survival terms that degradation and unhappiness are part and parcel of their existence. It probably seems quite normal and perfectly all right to some to live in a highly degraded society full of criminals, drugs, war, and insanity, where we are in constant threat of the total annihilation of life on this planet. Well, let me say that this is not normal, and it is not necessary. It is possible for individuals to lead happy, productive lives without having to worry about whether or not they're going to be robbed if they walk outside their door, or whether Russia is going to declare war on the United States. It is a matter of ethics. It is simply a matter of individuals applying ethics to their lives and having their dynamics in communication and surviving.